We're here with Ian from The Cult, and Ian, the title of the latest album is Electric, and that seems to be the sound of The Cult. How would you sum up your particular sound, your particular music?
Blues-based rock.
Because it
That's
seems
right.
the image of The Cult crosses over. You seem to be one of the few bands that can bring in the kids that like the new wave music and also the hard rockers.
Yeah. You're saying it, man.
Was that, is that because you're not really aiming at any one particular audience, you're just playing good music, or what?
Yeah, we're not really concerned with sort of being an underground, entity or anything like that. We're just like, sort of, I think music, we write good songs, the melodic, I think appeals pretty much to everyone.
You've also done some cover versions, such as on the current album you have a cover of Born to be Wild, one of the all-time classic rockers. How did that come about?
That was just like fun. We were just like jamming in the studio, and Rick Rubin says, let's do it, so we laid it down.
Are there any others that you want to cover in future albums?
Not really. He wants us to do Sweet Home Alabama. We ain't going to do it.
Maybe Freebird one day, right?
No way. That's it. I'm not doing any more. It's causing too much trouble. Everyone sort of thought it was some kind of big statement about heavy metal and, stripping down our sound and getting down to the roots of the matter, but just like fun,
Why do you think it is that all these kids that normally wouldn't like any form of heavy metal at all suddenly are being turned on by your music?
Who knows? I don't know. Maybe because it's melodic, it's not kind of a thrash metal or anything like that. I mean, heavy metal, a lot of metal these days, like Metallica, Anthrax, stuff like that is really just an acquired taste. I mean, I like it personally, but I guess for like a 14-year-old trying to make a decision between Metallica record and Madonna record or something like that, it's kind of, they always go for Madonna,
Say in England you were asked to play at something like Castle Donington, which is, the Monsters of Rock. Did you feel equally at home there?
Wouldn't bother doing it.
No?
No, a bit younger than most people that headline that bill. No, we do our own festival.
All right, now you are currently touring the States with Billy Idol.
Right.
I hear the show is absolutely amazing.
Which one?
Well, it's the whole double bill, really.
Yeah.
Do you like being on stage playing live?
Yeah, I've been doing it for like 7 years now. It's pretty much all I know how to do.
All right, well, we're going to get into the background of The Cult on Wednesday. But right now we'd like to introduce the video Rain. Does anything stick in your mind about this video?
Yeah, it's pain up my ass to make.
Was it a tough one?
Yeah. We had loads of smoke on the set and we kept choking on it. It was like, I just remember like having loads of red smoke caked up my nose, in my mouth. Could hardly breathe at all.
Because when we see it, it's 3.5 minutes, but when you shoot it, it's 14 hours or so.
Yeah, and also it's like the Rain video. We did this 2 years ago as well, so it doesn't really reflect where we're at the moment. But you can show Love and Real Machine later on.
You've got it.
Okay.
We're here with Ian from The Cult, and Ian, I'd like to ask you a little about the history of The Cult. I hear it wasn't always just called The Cult.
No, we've always been called The Cult. It was called Death Cult, right, before, but that was short-lived. I started out in a band called Southern Death Cult about 1981, and I split from them after about being together for about a year. Because basically they were just into making cash, they weren't really into making records, music. They wanted to do a big rip-off scandal deal with CBS, and I wasn't really into it, so I split from them. And then I met up with Billy, who was playing with a band called Theatre of Fate. We started to capitalise upon the success of Southern Death Cult by taking a name, but we just shortened it to Death Cult. And of course, Death Cult isn't a very inviting name for sort of, people to get into the band, so we just chopped the death out. It's like cutting off your nose despite your face having that name.
Right, you're from Liverpool, and here in
Birkenhead, it's across the river.
In the same kind of facility, right?
Yeah.
Within a few miles.
Yeah.
Here in the States, that has like a magical connotation thanks to the Beatles and the whole Mersey sound. Has it affected you growing up there?
I can remember actually being in Liverpool when the Beatles were there. I don't know what year it was, something like 1967. I was shopping with my mum, and the whole town was going crazy. But actually, I mean, like, the Beatles have had an influence on me, yeah. I guess they've had an influence on most musicians. But like, not the contemporary. The contemporary Liverpool sound seems to be very self-indulgent. It's kind of got its head up its bum because of the Beatles, They instantly think because we're from Liverpool, we're happening.
Do you think it was almost manufactured this second resurgence of Liverpool that the record label said, hey, let's make it happen again? They signed
that was the whole thing. Everyone's doing it on the back end of the Beatles. I mean, there are some good acts come out of Liverpool, like the Bunnymen and stuff, the original.
Right.
but most of it's drivel.
Is there a good club scene in Liverpool, and actually the rest of England for that matter?
In Liverpool, I mean, like, I haven't been there for like 4 years or something now. I've been living in London, and it's dead there. It's just horrible. I mean, basically Britain's on its knees. You know, there's no money there whatsoever. Like, London is just, there's not much going on there either. You know, there are a few little tiny things springing up, but it's kind of lost it. I mean, the emphasis at the moment, I see all the energy seems to be in New York. You know, there's a lot happening in New York at the moment. I don't know about LA. I've heard there's a glam scene happening here. It's kind of like last year it was Motley Crue. Everyone wants to be Motley Crue, and this year everyone wants to be Aerosmith. So,
how about the new bands? Where do they come from then in England? Because it used to be they would come through the clubs and then maybe do, you know, some Radio 1 stations or whatever. And
you'll probably find a lot of what people call the new bands have been around about a year and a half or something. I mean, it's bands like Crazy Head, Gay Bikers on Acid, good one for you. Yeah. Zodiac Mind Warp and the Love Reaction. All very groovy names, yeah.
Now the Cult has gone from being a cult band to crossing over in a big way and being accepted by rock radio and playing around the world. You were telling me you played in England, then promotional in Italy, and then over here to the States.
Yeah.
How does it feel to have that success?
You know, it's been such a gradual thing. Like I say, I've been doing it for 6.5, 7 years, so nothing's ever happened overnight. So it's been such a, you know, a build-up. It's like we're making this record for 6 months, and we kind of knew as it was working out it was going to be really good and be well received. In fact, in some ways, I'm kind of, you know, I expected it to happen quicker with this record. I thought it would have been more instant. But there's so much cynicism around. There's so many old farts in the business, so established. They're kind of like a little bit insecure about new stuff coming through, you know. I know that the band's name, the band's image might be a little bit too heavy for them. They're always more interested with, like, the advertising of the station, as opposed to the actual music they're putting out on a station. And there's a few progressive stations in the country which I really dig, you know, like K-Rock in LA and stuff like that. They were more really concerned with actually what they're playing on the airwaves, you know.
Right.
I think that's really got to come around for new music to come out, you know.
Right. Well, we're going to go back to your last album and play She Sells Sanctuary.
Oh dear.
Great song that's starting to get really popular.
I wasn't in that band.
Well, we'll look at that, Calvin, right?
Okay.
Do you have any thoughts about that particular song?
Yeah.
You performed that one in concert.
Again, this is ancient. I mean, it's so weird. Like, this is like 2.5 years old for me. So it's like I've got all my hippie gear on, man, you know. I was just like really... In England at that time, everyone was really into sort of being really down, and everyone wanted to be a nobody, you know. Everyone wanted to be on the dole and tortured and no future. Sort of like post the Pistols and Banshees and the Clash, the whole punk scene. So I just kind of woke up one day and just thought, I want to dress up and be flamboyant and say I'm alive, you know. So we did it in a very, you know, low-budget, naive way, like most English things, but, you know, it's working out well. Now we've really found our feet. It's kind of neat to look back at this, but...
Well, let's go back 2.5 years, shall we? 2.5 years.
Okay.
All right, with the Cult, She Sells Sanctuary. Well, it's day 3 of our interview with Ian from the Cult, and there's been a lot of talk about doom and gloom rock, etc.
Yeah.
Would you classify yourself as an exponent of that movement?
No, rubbish. No, it's like, I guess a lot of English bands that have come out in the past, I don't know, 10 years, are all pretty down and gloomy and dismal, because that's the way Britain is. But I looked at the only way to get out of that was, you know, not to get hooked up about, you know, the country being depressed, was just kind of like, have fun. And that's kind of like what we do, we have fun. In the past, I guess we were pretty uptight, you know. But now we just learn to relax a bit more.
Do you feel any relationship between bands like yourself and The Mission and Gene Loves Jezebel, all
Not
bands?
Gene Loves Jezebel, no, not really. You know, I mean, maybe in attitude, but not musically. The Mission, possibly musically, yeah, because I mean, I know that they've got similar influences like Led Zeppelin and stuff like that, basically into blues-based rock music. I certainly don't share Wayne's aspirations to be a transvestite, but there you go.
Talking of Led Zeppelin, something completely out of the blue here. Have you heard the Beastie Boys album,
Oh,
License to Ill?
Slightly.
Yeah, I was wondering what you think
Yeah.
of that, because they're mixing, you know, Blackstreet rap with
Yeah, we
some
work
hard
with,
rock.
you know, like working with a producer, you're bound to like the Beastie Boys. Yeah. Well, that was the thing that turned me on to Rick Rubin, was the way he mixed in like AC/DC and Led Zeppelin with, you know, hip-hop. And I just like the really abrasive sound that had a lot of character in that. I think it's good. It's been a catalyst for people to get back to rock music as well. Because I think a lot of kids that were into the hardcore scene were also into dance and hip-hop. And when they heard the fusion of like heavy metal, you know, they kind of went, aye, this is interesting. Like I said before, you know, on Wednesday, everyone wants to be Aerosmith this week.
We were talking off camera about your schedule and how you've been working like non-stop for 6-9 months. And you've also got this, you know, you're facing still months and months of work ahead of you.
Insanity.
Yeah. When do you think you'll get some time off? And what would you do if you had a week off now?
I don't know. Have a bath, I don't know. It's daft. It's like, it gets crazy, you know. If you let up the momentum, you know, you've got to think about the whole world. So if you stop working, you know, sort of Germany, people in Germany stop buying your record because you're not around or whatever, or what, you know, things like that. So you've got to keep working all the time. And we've really got to build up our roots and foundations. So we're going to be on the road for like the next 2 years or something, promoting and working. I mean, it's not like every day, but it's like, you never really get a solid break, you never get a real chunk. You get a chance to revive for maybe a week or so. But, you know, sometimes you're like stuck in England and somebody will say, you know, on Wednesday you've got a press interview to do. And, you know, it's kind of like, but that's in the middle of your week off, so you've got to stay in England, so that means you're going to have a week off in England, which is horrific. It's horrible.
Is it worth it for you, all the touring and all the studio time and all the interviews encroaching on your time? Is what you get back from it the enjoyment of the music?
That's it, that's why I do it, you know, it's just, all the promotional thing is just purely to promote, you know, get more people to the show, make it more of an event, try and create more of an aura around the whole thing. The main thing is doing the music, that's it, you know, it's like, we never set out to be a sensationalist, you know, we're not on any kind of trip, we don't want to be in front of newspapers and all that kind of thing, that comes with it. There's a lot of people out there just like into, Dave Lee Roth said, have a lot of dead baggage, just into kind of like being on the front of magazines and don't really have any music. I mean, it'd be impossible to do if I didn't dig the music, you know, that's what I'm into it for. Get an hour on stage, Billy Idol, we get about 2 hours when we're in Britain, so that's about it. You sit around all day waiting for that hour.
Do you ever get nervous just before you go on stage? And
I never get nervous. When I come off, I just turn into a blob. I get wound up, but I never get nervous, really.
All right, well, we're going to get into a double header from the Cult, both tracks from the album Electric. Yeah. One is going to be Love Removal Machine. We'll probably see that one second. Okay. So what thoughts do you have on Love Removal?
Love Removal Machine. Yeah, this is the first decent live footage of the band, I guess, because we were trying to capture like the live set and everything that we do, and we just asked the guys to come in and just like show it as it is, basically. So this is a good live depiction of the band. Little Devil, we decided to go with Warner Brothers' judgment, letting them pick a video director for us. Thank you. It turned out really good, actually, because we came up with this concept, and the video director in England got all these sort of like naked women in the shower with their, I don't know, with lizards running all over them and stuff like this, and that was his idea. And we'd seen this, and he'd sort of like his own private porno film or something like that. We said, we don't want this. That was his concept, you know, that was... So we did something a little bit more tasteful. The whole vibe of Little Devil is kind of like being in a small town, and you're trying to break out this environment, small town mentality, but you don't quite know how to go about it. And even if you do get out of it, what are you going to do when you get there, you know? It's kind of like what the whole thing's about.
Is that kind of your message to the kids, that if they're stuck in a rut?
There's no message there. I mean, that's just my interpretation of an experience, you know. We don't like shoving messages down people's throats. It's like individuals have got their own imaginations and, you know, whatever they want to do. If they want to be sort of like, you know, psychedelic dream terrorists, or they want to be sort of like whatever, you know. Yeah. Let them get on with it.
Well, you've certainly broken out your small town Birkenhead,
yes.
right?
Yes, I've broken out my town.
All right.
Now I'm breaking into your town.
Okay, well, breaking into our town, here's the Cult with Little Devil.